the workshop in the agenda order?
So moved.
Do we need that for a workshop? Okay, moved by Mr. Creel. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nail. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Was that a yes, Mr. Nail? Unanimous of those that are present? We'll move on. Mayor's report,
No report.
council reports.
None.
Any citizen comments? I'll open the floor if you want to raise your hand for any citizen comments before we have open the discussion for the meeting. There being none, what?
Real quick on council reports, just,
Oh,
I mean,
back up to council report, Mr. Creel.
right, I guess I need to preface this meeting, it's not, and just to make sure everyone's clear, as the line item, the policy agenda states, it's not our participation in the Mississippi Sound Coalition or lack thereof, and it's not us opting out of the Save Our Sound Coalition and its initiatives. What this is based on our financial shortfalls and our financial situation with the state. 4 new council members that are unaware and unfamiliar with the way the Economic Development Security Fund operates. This is simply a workshop to bring knowledge and awareness and the financial obligations that the city is incurring for Save Our Sound and the Mississippi Sound Coalition. We have MOUs under both organizations, under the Mississippi Sound Coalition and the Save Our Sound Coalition. Both of them are different. The Save Our Sound Coalition is a financial obligation. The Mississippi Sound Coalition is a power in numbers coalition, and that's what we need. The Mississippi Sound Coalition encompasses all the cities, the counties. Everybody is serving as one. However, the Save Our Sound Coalition is just the county of Harrison County, city of D'Iberville, and the city of Biloxi. And that's the financial mechanism, along with some Go Mesa money. So this is not opposition to the initiatives, the merits and accomplishments of the Mississippi Sound Coalition or the Save Our Sound Coalition. This is simply an awareness to the financial obligations that the city has been under since the start and the creation of the Save Our Sound Coalition. The Mississippi Sound Coalition is not financial. The Save Our Sound is what we pay into. And that's what we're looking at now, to create awareness for the 4 new members, and maybe the things with these old guys will find out that they didn't know as well. So I appreciate everyone's coming out. I appreciate the fortitude, and please understand this is not opposing. This is simply creating awareness. That's it.
Thank you, Councilman Creel. I'll have that meaning of old guys maybe to mean wiser guys or wise guys or whatever. But
if the shoe fits.
Yep, you got it. All right, any other council reports? Since I backed up to council reports per se, we're still going to get into the policy agenda. Everybody will have a chance for give and take conversations. But do you have a council report?
And hopefully this here will bring awareness to the other cities that don't donate to this cause. You know, like Councilman Creel said, we're all for it. We're not against it in no way. We just want to bring awareness to Pascagoula, Goche, Ocean Springs, Gulfport, Waveland, Pasco Shan. All them benefit from the same thing we do, but none of them put in. And that's all we're trying to do, is just bring awareness to them and let them put in. So we're not all footing a bill for them and their gains. That's all.
All right. Anything else under council reports? All right. You're welcome. There being no city comments as stated earlier, we're going to move on to the policy agenda. If the clerk can just read the subject matter.
Subject matter of the meeting is to discuss the memorandum of understanding among Harrison County, the city of D'Iberville, city of Biloxi, regarding Save Our Sound Coalition Fund and the financial obligations for the city.
Thank you. I'd just like to have some opening remarks. I want to first thank Councilman Creel by having the vision to call this workshop. He's the one who called for the workshop. I know we've had some spirited conversations on this, but I think like some of the council members have stated, I think we agree that there's a need for us to be involved, a need to learn, a need to engage. And as we do that deeper, I think we accomplish some of the goals that we all want to see happen. I want to thank the members that are here today including the focus group, and including Dr. Salangi and Mr. Bradley, and I'm sorry if I'm going to miss anybody, Captain Scametta, Linda Hornsby with the Mississippi Hotel Lodging Association. Who did I miss? Okay, yes, and all your work. A lot of us have seen firsthand the down in the dirt work that we do beyond the great work that the attorneys do and represent, and have been successful in a lot of litigation or potential litigation. And I've learned, originally I misstated in our previous meeting that we don't spend $250,000 a year, that we maintain a $250,000 fund. Well, that's not accurate, and I apologize for that. That's how it started, the resolution, that we would maintain the $250,000. We did that for a couple years, and then when we created the last resolution, we didn't have any mechanism to increase that funding. So there's a little less than $90,000 in that account right now, and that's all we have currently to offset any expenses the county wants to be reimbursed for as they manage the overall funding of this initiative. So with that, appreciate the mayor's been committed to this. I've seen him probably engage even more than most, and we appreciate your leadership, and we'll see some of that. And I know Rick is probably trying to get up to speed, and he has a lot of contacts that are involved with this. And Peter, appreciate you being here as well to have the legal mind to give us some advice as well. So without further ado, I think we'll kick it off with the presentation from the focus group. And if you want to say some opening words to what we're about to see, that'd be great.
Yeah, we'll be brief. We know you all had a whole meeting, but we have experts here just to get some highlights.
Can you step up to the mic? I think you can hold that. I think, can't you? Or is it?
You can you can bring it over. You can bring it with you if you want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you all hear me now?
Perfect.
Loud and clear.
All right, I'm Allison Buchanan. I'm a Biloxi resident, and I'm the CEO of the Focus Group, which is right across the street. And we are the firm that won a competitive RFP to do the communications for the Mississippi Sound Coalition. And today, we're here on behalf of the Mississippi Sound Coalition. Mr. Biloxi was not able to be here today, so before I get into anything else, I just want to read a short statement from him. He says, I want to thank the Biloxi City Council and Mayor for your leadership and support to save our sound. You have made it possible for the coalition to make the Corps of Engineers and Congress pay attention to look for win-win solutions. Bonnie Carey Spillway and other releases of polluted Mississippi River water into the Mississippi Sound are the biggest long-term threats to the way of life and economy of Biloxi and the whole Gulf Coast. But it's a national problem that requires a national solution. Please consider adopting the resolution we are handing you today to ask Congress to adopt the coalition's proposed Northern Gulf Estuary Protection Act. Thanks again for your leadership and support to save our sound. So we're going to quickly run through a couple of things. And following me will be Dr. Moby Salangi, who is the chair of the Coalition Science Committee. Then Dr. Paul Mickle, co-director of the Northern Gulf Institute at Mississippi State University. And then Ms. Linda Hornsby, who you heard from in the citizen comments, just for a couple of closing remarks. On at your seats, you have handouts. One is an executive summary and the actual full written text of the Northern Gulf Estuary Protection Act of 2025. There's a resolution also supporting funding for the Lower Mississippi River Comprehensive Management Study, which was a $25 million study that got approved by Congress and was in progress, and this past spring got canceled. We don't know exactly how or who or what, but it got canceled, and Congressman Ezell and many others are working to try to get it refunded, and it's a resolution that y'all could pass to support that. So without anything further, first I'm going to show you a quick video, if we could dim the lights a little.
Okay, I'm gonna get that. Big enough.
Dolphins are
human beings are accident.
If we lose the sound, that is an existential threat. And we cannot take another impact like Montana did. We're ground zero when it comes to the harm from opening up the spillway.
Now I have 0 votes that work for me, and I have no oysters coming across my dock.
I want all oysters back.
Out of the Mississippi Sound, we must protect it. Believe me, you can't see it, but there is a great and invisible danger threatening these waters. Out of Mississippi Sound is in the eye of an environmental storm.
What if the garbage truck came in and dumped garbage in the front yard year after year and you did nothing? Well, this has been going on with the Mississippi River for 30 years. All the polluted water has been going into the Gulf, causing dead zones, and we've done nothing.
You have seasons where we can catch 400,000 sacks. And went from 400,000 to 400 sacks. Years time.
When the oyster season was open, and we used to have oysters were really everywhere. And that was the way to do it. I mean, there's nothing better than a plate of charbroiled oyster. And it just doesn't get any better when it comes to fine dining. We don't have any of it.
2019 was a disastrous year for our business dropped, I want to say at least 36%.
I fish and recreate in the Gulf, and to see all of the devastation that has occurred to that ecosystem has just been sad.
This is the Voluntary Spillway, located 12 miles west of New Orleans. Just on the other side of this structure is the Mississippi River, and to the north of us is Lake Pontchartrain. The spillway is over 7,000 feet long, built in 1931 by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers nearly a century ago. As a result, some may consider the structure, as well as the way it's managed, archaic.
It's an early 20th century technology. It opens by pulling the boards out of slots, right? So this is a 100-year-old technology managing the biggest river
Need to touch it.
that we've got. I mean, there are better ways to do these things.
Even when the banks are closed, this giant is leaking billions of cubic feet of polluted river water daily into Lake Pontchartrain that later makes its way to our beloved Mississippi Sound.
So we did open in 2019 for 5 months. It poured over 10 billion cubic feet of water into the Mississippi Sound.
Toxins in our waters that have never really been documented this far from Lake Pontchartrain. We saw this green water all the way over to Jackson. It's really unprecedented. So when someone says, well, this Voluntary Spillway really cause impacts, there's really no argument there.
We saw the effects, the algae blooms. We saw the effects when they opened the spillway. It's heartbreaking to see these dead dolphins, dolphin calves, oyster industry absolutely decimated. So how do we protect New Orleans without destroying the Sound? The Mississippi Sound Coalition and science are taking on the David and Goliath struggle.
It takes 20 years to fix a problem that's taken 100 years to make. It's going to take 20 years to fix that problem. Coalition is in this.
So pursuant to public trust laws regarding seafood in the state of Mississippi, every resident has ownership in our marine resources, including our shrimp, crabs, fish, and oysters. They belong to you. And the reason we're fighting so hard is because there's still an east right off your dinner plate.
Board of Engineers does not accept they're causing any harm with Voluntary Spillway. And the courtroom is a place that gaslighting stops when we deal with facts.
The coalition and the scientists are convinced short-term and long-term solutions do exist.
All we have to do, in my mind, if we get the water chemistry right, the water quality right, things are going to start going our way. Give you my promise.
And I think we have a good chance of making our oyster eats come back, increasing our fishing, increasing our shrimping, and making it a great place to live like it once was, the seafood capital of the world. So we're working with the folks in Louisiana and one of our own folks to try to get the attention of the Corps of Engineers that this is a serious issue.
Mississippi has no seat on the table. We have no say-so. We've never had any say-so. And I think that needs to be changed.
Come visit Pastor Stan. See how Pastor Stan used to be. See how we are now. and how we can plan a strategy to bring our horses back.
Oyster gardens are very rare to come across nowadays. More than 80% of it has been lost worldwide. And it is a very big factor of our ocean. It serves as literally a filter in the water.
I would ask the court, so please understand our position, and we understand their position, but their action can impact our way of life, and that's what's so important. Not only our way of life, but the whole economy, and say Mississippi.
There are problems and there are solutions. We need a seat at the table. The court needs to start listening to the people of the Mississippi Gulf Coast. But we need you to get involved to help save our sound.
Please help us save our town.
So this is the Mississippi River Basin. It drains from 31 states and 2 Canadian provinces, down to New Orleans, through New Orleans, into Lake Pontchartrain, which finds its way into our sound. This is a diagram of this year's dead zone west of Louisiana. Each year, Louisiana scientists have been mapping the dead zone and tracking the size of the dead zone. And the darker areas are showing the areas where a good definition of a dead zone is basically excess nutrients from the Mississippi Atchafalaya River Basin, primarily from agriculture, cause large algae bloom. The algae die and decompose, deplete the oxygen, and make it uninhabitable for fish, shrimp, and other organisms that cannot escape. Lack of oxygen creates the dead zones in the bottom of the waters, Texas, Louisiana shelf throughout the warm summer months. So this is just a larger shot of that western dead zone. But in the past couple of years, they've begun to map our side of the dead zone. And they cannot get inside the barrier islands because they need 15 feet broad of water consistently, and there are not enough areas within those for them to map them. But we talked to Dr. Nancy Rabelais and Dr. Cassandra Gillespie from LSU, and they said that they are working on funding to get autonomous vehicles to be able to measure closer to shore on our side of the Mississippi Sound to figure out more about the dead zone. But you can see the darker area as it's getting closer to our sound. Possible that dead zone is reaching well into our areas. And we hear it anecdotally from fishermen, y'all probably do too, that the abundance of the seafood in our sound is just not as great because of this problem. This is a map showing the lower portion of the Mississippi River, and the only reason we put this in here is to show you different points along the river that could be utilized for flood control, but right now they are not being used by the Corps. Got the New Madrid floodway. Some of these floodplains were there before they started using these spillways, but they're not using them for the overflow, and we believe that the win-win solution involves the Corps involving more of these locations up the river rather than putting it all down through Bonnie Carey. That's all I have to say, but I'd like to bring you guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it to be amongst good friends. And of course, Mayor Fofo, we are all really, really proud of the city of Biloxi that has really taken the leadership. This is a very serious problem. I've been working on this for almost 50 years. I received my PhD from the University of Southern Mississippi at the Gulf Coast Research Lab. And I studied the effects of oil and came up with the oil spill contingency plan in 1980 when they said we'll never use it. And then suddenly in 2010, I was considered an expert. But I think, what we are talking about is a very, very serious problem. And one of the things that I got involved in was marine mammals. Why marine mammals? Why dolphins? And dolphins being, of course, people love them. They're on the top of the food chain. They're the good biological indicator of the environment. So basically, they were the canary in the coal mine. In the good old days, the miners didn't have these gas issues or carbon monoxide meters. They would have one person holding a canary in a cage with a whistle. And when the canary died, he'd blow the whistle because he knew the guys were next. And so I think we're reaching that point that the whistle has been blown, and I'm glad that Biloxi and folks like Gerald Blessy and others have taken a leadership role. And I think one of the things that I was very privileged in the previous Trump administration, in 2019, after the Bonnie Carey spillway, I was invited to present what the issue was. And once I presented that, I was told that it was a $1 trillion issue, that 31 states and 2 provinces in Canada were using Louisiana and Mississippi as a dump. I mean, we had done nothing. And you know, when you have a dead zone and you've taken 10,000 square miles of productivity, what do you have? In the next generation, food security is going to be an issue. It may not be oil and gas and all that. But I think what I want to do is I don't want to people have started to forget things. In 2019, well, now it's 2025, but there are still lingering effects. Well, I'm going to jump quickly because some of the other stuff has been already mentioned. But here's the real issue. You've got 31 states and 2 provinces. What they're sending to us is their agriculture, industrial, sewage waste, and all sorts of crap that comes in. When you say Mississippi River, you think it's fresh water, pristine water, you can go drink it. It's not. It has all sorts of issues. And what happens, I don't know if many people know about this, Mississippi River is not connected to Mississippi. We don't get a drop of water unless it is diverted to us. And that became evident in 2019. You can see Lake Pontchartrain, and the lighter color means that the salinity is almost 0. The only way it got to us was through the Wrigley's, a little small area that brings all this water into the Mississippi Sound. Now, the Mississippi Sound is a very shallow area. You don't have the tidal fluctuation, so you have not enough mixing. If you go to the Gulf, you have 6 or 7, 8 foot tides. Here, if you have a 1 or 2 foot tide, you have a advisory, oh, don't go out there. So you don't have a lot of mixing, and you can see the red bars and the yellow bars of high salinity water trying to come in, so the water just stagnates. But the Mississippi Sound is a nursery. Well, it's a nursery. It provides all the good stuff that we need, and the animals that are born here go to the deeper waters, and that's where we fish. So if you kill the nursery, you've killed the goose that lays the golden egg. So this is an existential threat, and I'll point out to the economic aspects of it. Well, we talked about dolphins being, being on the top of the food chain and a biological indicator. But this animal was alive when we responded to it. And we have the nation's largest dolphin populations in the state of Mississippi, if not in the world. This is their habitat. These animals choose their habitat. We can talk all day long, the salinity is good, the temperature is good. If the animals are not there, it is no good. And so this animal are residents. They live here, they die here, they're born here. The Mississippi Sound is also a nursery. All of the baby dolphins are out there. We take all of this for granted. But believe me, when this nursery is gone, our way of life, our economy will suffer. And that was evident in 2019. And I'm sure some of your other folks will talk about the economic impact. Now you can see the source. These are saltwater animals. When the salinity drops to almost 0, of course it kills the ecosystem. But by monitoring these over the last 30, 40 years, I can predict very clearly what's going to happen to the ecosystem. The ecosystem is not the top predator, it has all the bottom dwellers. And when these dolphins started dying, you had the shrimp dying, the oysters dying, you had blue crabs, you name it. It was an aquatic hurricane. Just look at Katrina. It was there for half a day, and we are still constructing. Camille came in and took, 2-3 years to just clean up. But when you have an aquatic hurricane like the Bonnie Carey or others, you may see the sunshine, but what it has done is devastated, and it's going to take years to regenerate. You had dolphins dying, sea turtles dying. Here's what I did. We have a chart. We monitor this and see. It used to be every 7, 8, 9 years, you would have the opening of the Bonnie Carey. Well, like it was mentioned, it was built in the 1920s. Well, how many of us drive a 1920s car? And how many rules do we have changed? Well, the Corps of Engineers just follows one rule. At 90 miles an hour, that's all you're going to do. Well, if you have a hump or road is broken, they don't change. So the laws have to be changed, and Gerald and others have done a very good job in making sure that the other avenues of legal and political avenues are taken care of. But during the oil spill, we had 91 dolphins and 309 turtles that were dead. These are most endangered species of turtles in the world. This is their home. They are born in Mexico, and they spend their adult stage up in Mississippi and neighboring waters. Well, they opened up in 2011, and we had 147 dolphins and 266 turtles died. Whenever it's not open, you can see the average number of 40, 50 animals dying every time we open. In 2019, we had more dolphins die than during the BP oil spill. That's even when everybody was looking for dead animals. So it's a good indicator. Well, the problem isn't gone yet. I mean, we're all sleepwalking guys. We think that, the Bonnie Carey has been turned off, we are okay. It's leaking. It has all sorts of other rivers coming through Lake Pontchartrain. There's one outlet in the United States that doesn't have a gauge. Dr. Paul Mickle is working on it since 2019. I pointed out to them, every river discharge has a gauge. It'll tell you how many cubic feet of water, whether it's the Wolf River, Escatawba, Pascagoula, any diversion, you have to have a gauge, except for the Wrigley's. There's a good reason, it's politics. They don't want to let you know what's coming out of there. Finally, with all the hurdles, I think we'll be able to get a gauge. And so, but we're still dealing with those problems. With the leakage and all the other things that are going on, you see live animals with their skins peeling off. It's a very painful death for these animals. We see animals that are starving. You can see the ribs on them. You can see that these animals are having problems for food. If these animals are having problems with food, we're going to be next. We're not going to have the seafood that we are seeking out here. So how do I go back? Okay. Help me. One more? It's just good look at me. Okay. Now what we do is, I don't know if any of you know that dolphins have a fingerprint. I told this to the FBI when they had a group of them come down to it, and they couldn't believe it. We can identify each animal that's out there by its fin. Each of that notch is very unique for each animal, and then we have artificial intelligence that tracks it down, and we have about 3,000 dolphins that have been tracked. So we go out every month, and we see where these animals are going, where they're going. Their movement, it tells us how the habitat is functioning. If they're not there, that means there's something wrong with the habitat. So that's something that we use. We use the animals to tell us the story. You and I sat down with the generals of the Army Corps of Engineers. Oh yeah, the temperature's good, the salinity is good, the pH is good. Well, we have done our job. Well, you're looking at it one-dimensionally. Well, there are no animals there. But let's have the animals tell us the story. So this is what Dr. Forrest Collins is with me, my associate here. These guys track them, and we know what they're associating, where they're going, what they're eating. and we can tell and predict how our ecosystem is functioning. The next slide is we use satellite tags, new technology. We follow these animals in real time. We put a little tracker, it's a satellite tracker, just like your cell phone. When it comes to breathe, it puts out a signal, and it'll tell you why it's at a place, where is it going, and we can just look at those records of water quality and the food in that place to tell you the quality of the habitat. So anyway, even Mr. Blessing says that I am the best looking guy in Gulfport. Here are some of the tracks. You can see how these animals that were put in, if you notice, they all avoid Britain Sound. Think about it. There are 5 diversions that go into Britain Sound. There's nothing in the Britain Sound. These animals are telling us the story. Not one of them goes in there, they go to the mouth of the river, and they all come back. We released some turtles in Florida. We put satellite tracks on them, and they all came back to Mississippi. We had one animal that came from the Keys that was released and was caught on hook and line on the same pier in Waveland. So these animals are resident animals. They live and die up here, and we need to be taking care of it, and they're telling us a story. Well, you know, we have some issues. In summary, you know, the BP monies were supposed to be used for restoration. Louisiana is using them not to restore, but to kill. The Barataria Bay, mid-Barataria diversion has been stopped because of some of our work. I was very proud when the Lieutenant Governor of Louisiana said I had to come to Mississippi to learn the truth. And so based on the information we provided, and Dr. Mickles' group provided, we've been able to stop the mid-Barataria and the mid-Britain diversions that were proposed for billions of dollars. There are other ways of doing things, but they're not looking at it. It was something that started at a $350 million project, ended up at $3 billion. And so I'm glad that Louisiana took some action. Most of the problems we have are man-made, you know, whether it's oil. Anyway, that's okay. Are man-made that I think we need to look at, but I don't think that the 31 states should impact us, and we should just take it lying down. And again, I commend your mayor and the county and others, and I hope that you can convince the other cities and other counties to participate, because this is an existential threat. If your economy suffers, your casinos will suffer. You see dead animals on the beaches. Who's going to buy your seafood? Who's going to come to your beaches? So I appreciate the time, and I hope the information I provided will help you make some decisions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Dr. Mayor.
I'm going to have a seat. Thank you, council members, for having us today. I really appreciate it. It's nice to meet four new council members. Thank you. And thank you, Council of Council. And thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate it. So I just want to go through and jump into the research that we've completed so far and answer any questions. Hopefully it's very informative. And we really applied as applied research. So this isn't just research that the MSU does to publish papers and things like that. This is built with a purpose and a tool, which I'll get into. So I really appreciate any guidance or any comments you have are appreciated, because this is where science and policy meet, and it's usually very hard to do and very destructive. So we can go through this together. But I am the co-director of the Northern Gulf Institute. We're a 6th university consortium. I'm located out at Stennis Space Center. I was lucky enough to have the mayor out last year, 2 years ago. And we had some representatives and senators with us as well. And I did the pre-briefing on this work, so I'm very excited to share it here today of status where we are. So we've talked about this today. I can skip most of this as we know what the Bonnie Carey Spillway is, but I just want to put in perspective very closely that every red dot on this picture is a freshwater input, and almost all of them are natural inputs. They're drainages, they're rivers that we have, and they all play a role in the salinity balance of the Mississippi Sound. The Bonnie Carey Spillway is located there, and it really does have a massive impact when you're really understanding the research that we've done. This is the Go Mesa funded research that came from the state, passed through the county. We competitively put in proposals for it, and we had a pretty much stark intent on trying to understand and help the Corps understand that they can operate the Bonnie Carey Spillway with protecting life and property, which they've congressionally been told to do from the Flood Control Act, as well as protect and reduce ecological impacts is what we're dealing with here. And we're so familiar with Bonnie Carey Spillway openings. If you really understand, this figure didn't pop up right, but on the right side, this is a conductivity on the y-axis figure there. If you see those little blue crosses, those are Bonnie Carey Spillway openings. And they cause water quality issues so high that you actually have massive mortality events. We all see this. I don't think that's a hard point to make. We all understand that we see massive oyster mortality during Bonnie Carey Spillway openings. But I do want to point out, in 2018, there was the Bonnie Carey Spillway opening. And the Corps opened it. It was not a major flood, but they opened it in a way where there wasn't oyster mortality. So that's what we dialed in on with this study here. We wanted to understand if they could actually operate the Bonnie Carey Spillway in a way that they wouldn't cause oyster mortality or reduce oyster mortality where we don't have mortality rates over 90% like what we saw in 2019. So we did a pre-briefing in March of last year when we received the award, and then we quickly moved on because we know that policy moves faster than science. So we have a group of USM and MSU scientists that have worked on this. The series of models, I don't want to get into the nerdery too much, but it's a water quality model and a seafood fisheries production model that I created, and then it goes through and feeds in so we can actually understand how much water the Bonnie Carey Spillway can release by still saving New Orleans. We don't want that to flood, obviously. But we felt that the Army Corps of Engineers was operating the spillway at a negative risk scenario or approach. That means that you can operate it at zero risk, right? We all understand what zero risk is, where the risk is pretty much zero. You can operate it and save the city. We felt that they were operating it way too conservatively and actually at a negative risk approach. That means there's a lot of meat on the bone to operate it up to that zero risk where you don't lose New Orleans ever and you actually reduce or eliminate ecological impacts in the Mississippi Sound. So this is where this research really fell into. And this is kind of what we understood and figured out. So when the Bonnie Carey Spillway opens up, it actually pushes all the natural water out of Lake Pontchartrain. It just pushes it out. It's like a big bowl of Jell-O. Once that thing opens up, it actually causes Mobile Bay within a 3-day period to actually operate differently. The water in Mobile Bay actually is impacted. That's how large. I just want to put in perspective what the Bonnie Carey Spillway actually does. The yellow is actually the water itself and the percentage of Bonnie Carey Spillway water coming out. You can see it's very prevalent in the Mississippi Sound. You can see kind of that twitching back and forth. That's the tidal cycle and the winds that we see move back and forth. And really understanding that really helps us identify what we can identify as tipping points. How much water can be released where we start to see impacts and loss of ecological life, like oysters, shrimp, crabs, finfish, speckled trout, all those things that we're really dialing in on. And then those harmful algal blooms that we've seen. We really looked at all of that to try to understand how much water can be released and still make it's a win-win situation, right? We want to provide a tool to the Corps that this council supported, that the state's pushed for and supported, that gets everybody talking. Gerald's talked about it for years. It's really a win-win situation, and rarely does the science, in my opinion, provide a useful tool to this capacity in a policy sense. But really understanding that is important to really move forward and really try to grasp as far as having those tipping points and identified. And the last point I'll talk about when we release this report is that I can share a little bit out of it as it's going through peer review. So back to the policy side, we have to put it through an independent peer review process, this report that we've just finished. That gets it stamped as best available science for a court of law. So until that happens, the reviewers that review this, and the reviewers are all around the world that do this in different countries. We have folks in Belgium, Asia, Africa, South America, that engineers that do exactly this. They're going to stamp it as best available science. We can release that report. But really, the most interesting thing about it is that we're really hopeful that we've really understood that in January and February, the water's cold. And actually, you can release more water from the Bonnie Carey Spillway when it's cold than when it's warm. When you have a Bonnie Carey Spillway opening as late as June and July, what we saw in 2019, it's a Chernobyl effect. There's really, you can't release much water at all when it's that warm. Hopefully that makes sense as trying to understand, but it's a very complicated balance. But from a biological perspective of what oysters can take as far as fresh water, what shrimp can still have their viability, because shrimp's an annual crop, right? We see them come in every June when it opens up. But really understanding all that, when you're taking into account water temperature, what the Mississippi River is doing, what our local rivers are doing. When the Pascagoula and Pearl are flooded, you can't release as much out of the Bonnie Carey Spillway. When you're in a drought like we are right now, the rivers are at base flow, our natural rivers, you can release more out of the Bonnie Carey Spillway. So it's like being at the blackjack table. We're counting cards, trying to play those odds and really try to understand those tipping points when things go south from a biological perspective.
So I have one question. So how does this scientific data help us win or help us influence where we've had zero influence in the past and zero wins before the Sound Coalition was created?
Yeah.
How does that come into play?
Sure. So the Corps, they're really drilled into, they're really good at it, protecting life and property. There's never been a study like this done. They've never had to do it. The state was smart enough to really push for this and to do it. We're actually working with the Corps now almost on a daily basis. They came over and said, oh my gosh, what are y'all doing? This is absolutely amazing. And now we're meeting with them literally on a weekly basis. They're utilizing what we're doing. They're very excited about what we found. Before that lower Mississippi River study was canceled in the last, I think it was canceled in February. But before that they were actually had incorporated us into that study. They were really, they had teed it up. So what the coalition has done and what we've pushed for here, we've gotten to the point where I feel confident we are gonna have change and we are having those conversations and the impact is here. Now, things fall apart all the time politically at the last minute, but from a quantitative standpoint, I do a lot of water quality models. The confidence I have in this one is second to none. I would say that. I've presented models to other groups. I've presented them to the state where I don't have the confidence level of what this one has produced. I didn't think it would be this good, but actually, whoever's pulled the trigger, it's working out really well.
The animated slide makes the case.
Sure.
Yep.
Going the wrong way. Would you mind going back a couple? Hopefully I'm not oversimplifying. Yeah, go ahead and animate it, sir.
Yeah, because the date's up top. You can follow the dates up
You
top.
can follow the dates up top. So it goes to the first opening, and then it kind of re-solidifies. The salinity goes back up after the first closing in 2019. We actually had a hurricane come up and bring up some salt water in the middle, and then it opened up again that summer. And once you got into those 80, 85 degree temperatures and it opened up again, that was it. I was just in tears at that point, just to know what was going to happen biologically.
So not to redirect the conversation, but as far as this presentation that you guys have put on, all the information with Dr. Sanjay and yourself, how many other presentations have you guys done in how many other city halls along the coast?
That's more of a coalition. We are not members of the coalition. The university cannot be a member.
We presented to the Jackson County Board of Supervisors, Harrison City Advisors.
City of Gulfport?
City of Gulfport. I did a congressional hearing.
This way to the City of Gulfport.
We have not yet.
Not yet, but that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and trust me, this is very good information. This is stuff that I needed to know. And I'm glad you started with us because we're on board. We are the number 2 funding source, second to Harrison County when it comes down here. I think it'd be beneficial to start with other city halls from Pascagoula to Ocean Springs and along down the road. Your presentation is second to none. It's very insightful, and it gives us the information that we need to make a sound decision as far as funding. But I think the more city halls and the more county courthouses that you're in, the more funding you're gonna receive.
To Mr. Creel's comments, this is your first presentation to City Hall.
To Biloxi?
To Biloxi City Hall, per se. We attend some of your meetings by invitation, but this is the first one
Right.
that you've come to us, and I think it would be impactful, Jamie, if you sat in Gulfport
think
City
it's
Hall
a good idea.
and did the same thing.
I know that Mr. Blessy and other leaders of the coalition have met with all of the mayors and city councils in other types of settings, but this type of presentation.
Gulfport's got new city councilmen. I think they got 3 new city councilmen as well. So this would be, and especially when they opted out. When they literally opted out before, so.
And we've kind of distilled it down for y'all so that.
No, that's perfect, and this is great information, and actually, I appreciate you putting it in our terminology to where we can understand it, as opposed to the technical version of it. So no, it's especially with the time lapse, it was very insightful.
Sure. Yeah, the last thing I'll mention is that, like Dr. Solange said earlier, that the Rigolets is a small area where the water comes out of Lake Pontchartrain, like that model. And we've always wanted a gauge station there, and every other river that we deal with in this model has one. So the Go Mesa funds funded a station that's actually been funded, and we got the award number last Friday, so 4 days ago, and we are in the process of doing a purchasing of this new technology. It's a cellular phone-based transfer station, so it reads the water quality at the Rigolets station, and it uploads it through the cell network, and it'll be a live stream going up that the public can use. The benefits of that is continuous data. The modelers are going to be very happy. It's actually going to be an early warning system when the Bonnie Carey Spillway opens for folks that need to move their off-bottom cages, which is a big part of Harrison County and the city of Biloxi. It'll be that warning system, really understanding when that water's coming out and how much of it's coming out. And also it'll increase the model confidence even more. And it really understand that bottleneck about how that lake drains through that really small area. I don't know if y'all have been over there, but there's a 100-foot hole right at the Rigolets, deepest hole on the coast. You know, the hole up the Biloxi River is pretty deep over there, and then you got the dugout channels, but that 100-foot hole, that's because of that water going through there. Pretty impressive.
Paul, let me jump in and throw a little angle, I think, from the council standpoint, and we've been frustrated over and over and over as we pushed through this project and as we suffered through, 70% of the downturn after 2019. I'm a little tact. I've never used this before. But and we're, we are who we are in the seafood, in the history. It impacts us. We're kind of behind the 8 ball because we're not that many people. Had this impacted duck hunting or dove hunting, or hunting of any sort, they would be coming out the woodwork from the state of Mississippi. But we're behind the 8 ball.
It might eventually.
No.
But and it did a little bit when it flooded.
Yep.
Okay, and the lieutenant governor at the time, we've been trying to let him. What do we have? 2 million, 2.2 million that we finally got once we were successful in one lawsuit. So, the 8 ball is, it means this to us. It doesn't mean it to, with 2.8 million, 2.9 million, but if there's somehow we could change that, that look. Hey, it might not, I don't eat a lot of shrimp. I don't care, it's the rest of the state. But this is an impact of significance. And so that's a challenge. And I don't know why, some of the other cities don't understand that, and maybe they're not impactful. The trick is, if we all put up something, we got a lot more to work with, and I think that's your concern. But we cannot not do something. That makes sense?
No, I get it, but I think I've heard it once, maybe 10 times today, how much this has impacted tourism and the downfall of tourism. And we have coastal Mississippi tourism that I don't see on this spreadsheet donating any money.
No, and that's a challenge, no question about that.
I mean, we should be doing this presentation at coastal Mississippi tourism at the Coliseum. Yeah, I mean,
no chips though. No chips.
Yeah, at some point, and
the county. The point about the county, but there's a lot of. I think you can turn the heat up on. As you see that thing spread. That's the plague, right? Plague for us. And we've got the challenge is how do we engage folks and let them understand this is serious stuff. And with 326 years of history. And the water's been around and been the source of why we are here. But, you know, I think there was an angle from a court system. At one point, they would, you know, and I'm not sure how lawsuits work, but they're, you know, kind of understand it. But if there was some way to say and sue back those pig farmers who you can test that they only came from the Missouri River through, so there's some ways that you can, you know, when you engage multi-billion-dollar corporations, and this is your stuff down here, and it's reaching down here, and it's hurting us. And big lawyers and big law firms, you know a way to twist things. And unfortunately, you know, we won a few, and we're trying to win all of them. But to get to the table, it takes commitment, and we just need to figure out how we turn the heat up. Yeah.
That 33-page act that y'all have there, the Northern Gulf Estuary Protection Act, it will require the Corps to implement the tipping points that Dr. Mickle's study has revealed, so.
Awesome.
Paul, let me ask you something while I'm on it. My thoughts still back there. How does it impact speckled trout fishing?
Okay, sit down for that.
Huh? I mean, does that make sense? I mean, a lot of people pay attention to that.
Yeah. Just stop me if I get too nerdy on this, but the height of spawning for spotted sea trout is, you know, April. That's when the peak is. That's when Bonnie Carey Spillway, when it does open, that's when it's closing. That's when water quality impacts are most of the time when it opens. But when you think about that, we call it spawn, really spawn loss, where you lose a whole
generation,
year class, or cohort, what we call it. It can take literally 6 to 8 years to actually see that biomass.
It came, this past April, by the way, it just coincidentally, it came within less than a foot from opening.
Yeah, the opening order was on someone's desk. It was right in front of them. That's how close it came. I do, as a scientist, sometimes when it opens, it pushes Louisiana trout over here, and we see some really big trout.
Yeah.
I think people agree with that. Always have to talk about all the details, but it's a complicated system, the Mississippi Sound. So every opening's different, too. There's 350 bays. Sometimes they open a third of it. Sometimes they open all of it. 2011 was very different. It's a massive opening, but it was very different from a water quality perspective and a biological impact perspective. So I think if the Corps' talking, I think we've made some massive advancements in that aspect of it. And the fact that the scientists are sitting at the table is really impressive. I didn't think, the scientist, is hard to be an optimist, but I'm optimistic about this.
I think we've got some Mississippi folks in the Corps of Engineers, or some, the last appointee or something to the commission. I'm not sure, but we made progress with just the who's on the Corps of Engineers. But like I said, I'm convinced if it had something to do, if it impacted ducks, I guarantee you, the ducks or dove, you know, in Mississippi they'd be doing some stuff.
Allison, is there any other, do you have any other items? Or does this conclude the presentation? Are there any other comments? Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
Perfect. Hey, thank you.
Good thing is I'm very quick. I appreciate, first of all, everything that I think needs to be implemented. I think this presentation, with Dr. Solange, with Dr. Nichols, and any others, needs to be made. Every county, there's nobody that's immune.
Civic organization, Sierra Club, all of them.
I wanted to say, I mean, that's talking after stages or opening remarks. Kenny, Jamie especially, I'm not kidding. I thought they were very enlightening, informative, most of all encouraging. I just felt better already. And then with y'all's reaction to what we've seen this before, but you know, I learned something new every time. I've never been a science person, but boy, they make it easy to understand, don't they?
Right.
Yeah. So, and one other thing that somebody pointed out to me right before this meeting
industry to this city. Don't report follows almost the rest of the cities are under 80%.
And we probably have 70% of the hospitality revenue if we have 50% of the inventory.
You don't have, I think in your package, you may have my long version of what I said a short version at the. If you don't, let me send it to you. I reiterate, we live by numbers. It has a lot of numbers in it, especially room tax numbers. What happens when those room taxes don't, when there's a shortfall, it falls on the citizens, especially for the senior debt. So just, I'll send it to y'all if you don't have it in your packets.
Send it to
But I just, pardon me?
Please send it.
Okay.
So you say 50% of hotel rooms are in Biloxi? And then Gulfport's how many?
25.
So 75%, and then we split the tourism commission again. How do we do that again? We went from not 12 members and we had to incorporate.
15 members, yeah.
Yeah, you know where I'm going with that, right? Yeah.
That's a big sin. So, but anyway, I just wanted to say that I did appreciate y'all's remarks and distinction and very encouraged.
Thank you for coming
I
down.
hope that everybody gets to see
Absolutely.
this presentation and gets to hear Dr. Salami and Dr.
And it's a shame WLO's left when they.
There's a point that's brought up that I want to, for a number of reasons.
I'd like to make some additional comments and give the council, if you want to make any comments or questions in this meeting. You know, this has been very enlightening. I've seen parts of this, and again, I think I learn something every day, but this is my hope. We're on the verge at some point to have Mike Uzel's office come and do a field congressional hearing at City Hall. That's pretty big. That's pretty big when you have somebody on the national level come do that. I've learned again that the funding that we have to fund this is not at that $250,000 level. It's at a lesser amount. It's less than 90,000, I think, or right at 90,000. And I think that's probably going to be encumbered, and we have to talk to the county on how we manage or reconcile that, because we are in bed with them and have an agreement with how that's dispersed. Going forward, if there's a new resolution from the new members of the council and the wiser members of the council, then maybe we choose that level of funding if we have an appetite for that. And I think in the meanwhile, maybe we adopt some of our cousins and aldermen and fellow council members ourselves and pick one that we can go talk to them about this, because this touches all of us in so many ways, environmentally, ecologically, from a tourist standpoint, an industry standpoint. It touches us all. And I think there's some bigger things to still happen. Yes, we won a couple of suits. Yes, they've paused opening it. We got Lieutenant Governor Nungesser coming in next month. He's going to have lunch in D'Iberville. We can pick his brain a little bit. But maybe we can hold off on our final decision on how we're going to support this, whether we're supporting the mission or supporting the funding or supporting it some other way or additional way. I think we can find that middle ground. And we appreciate the hard work, again, all of you, Dr. Mickles, Linda, Captain Scametta, Allison, thank you so much. This is really important how we present that. The mayor and all the city council members here, thank you all for engaging in this process. So I'll open the floor up. Any other comments?
I want to make a little comment. Because it's mentioned, and there's a number of ways we go down this path to get what we need to fight this battle. Okay, we talked about hotel rooms and does taxes. Yeah, how do you for every $1 million, what impacts the city of Biloxi? Every $1 million of gross sales, whether it's hotels or whether it's beverage or whatever. You know what the arithmetic is? For somebody that sells $1 million worth of stuff, $70,000 of sales tax is generated. Okay, of that $70,000, $12,900 comes to us. from rooms, there's another 5% that's distributed to, who's got the chips? Not us, okay? So you do the arithmetic of 20, 30, or 40 million, what that means to us. We've got to have something equitable in order to fight these battles. We don't, that business is we love to have it, and it proliferates, but we don't have the revenue opportunity. Maybe we need to go into this, whether it's coastal, whether it's the state of Mississippi, wherever it is, Go Mesa or some dedicated amount to fight this battle, because sales tax is not where it is. Okay, for 70, for every $1 million of sales, we get $12,900. And, we have no, that path is not significant to me. We've got to have something that's generating $15 to $20 million worth of ability, across the board. And it's a number of things that we should chase, but that's probably what it's going to take, that amount of money to do what we need to do.
And it's going to take I would say, all the cities along the coast working together to do that. To go to Jackson and...
Well, those cities are in the same box we are, even,
Well, no, we're in a different box. We're in a box by ourselves.
Well, I know, but we have the largest, opportunity to, for sales, not the largest, but bottom line, the cities in general, 18.5% of the seven, or whatever the gross sales is not a significant amount, which should be, maybe for an exception to fight this, that diversion needs to be 20, 30% more. Then you have opportunity in sales tax across the board.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, no.
Recognize Dr. Tisdale.
Well, thank you. Glad you recognize me. I don't always look this good at the end of a long day. It was a very good, nice, tight presentation, really. Excellent. Dr. Solangi and Dr. Mickle knew their stuff, and no kidding, I really like that animated slide. It just illustrated that's perfect. Very well done, very well done. Carol, thank you for being here for this. All right. Thank you. That's it, Mr. President.
Any other closing comments?
No, I would like to thank y'all also for coming. Very eye-opening, and hopefully some of the other city councilmen are watching this and they open up their eyes also. Thank y'all for coming.
All right. There being no other comments, entertain a motion to recess.
Can we adjourn? I'd like to adjourn.
Okay.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Creel. Need a second by Mr. Gray. Any discussion, Mr. Creel? Any discussion, Mr. Gray? All in favor? Opposed?